The goal chase thing becomes a little bit more unpalatable when he's scoring like once every 2 weeks and you're just really chipping away at it. And it's just so much more interesting that he's tearing it up right now.
Okay, let's talk about Alex Ovechkin, because we loved the Capitals. We loved their offseason. Really, it was Utah and Washington that we were hammering as saying, what exciting, interesting offseasons. And for as much as we talked about the Capitals, so much of it was, don't let Alex Ovechkin rot. Yes, they made a lot of good moves, and they've supplemented what they already had very well. I think this season has been Alex Ovechkin saying, you think I could rot? Right now...
Could be it. I saw some people coming up with the conspiracy theory that Alex Ovechkin wants to retire as soon as possible. So he's just really expediting this goal chase.
It's like when it's a Thursday, you're like, why is that person working so hard? They've got one more day of work. Trying to duck out a little early. Be done for the week. Maybe that's what Alexander Ovechkin's doing. Whatever he is doing right now on Monday, November 18th in the United States and Canada, Utah time and Boston time. Alex Ovechkin at 39 years old, yeah, he's 29 away from Gretzky. That's not even my favorite thing here. Alex Ovechkin, Monday, November 18th, Utah time, tied for the league lead in the NHL with Leon Draisaitl and Sam Reinhart. He's 39, and yeah, he's the best goal scorer of all time. But there was supposed to be some sort of, not limp to the finish, but maybe a little cruise to the finish. Maybe the gas isn't still gassing the way he was gassing back in the day, but he's got 13 goals through 17 games. What an absolute stud. And I'll say, we got him right up there with Leon, tied for the league lead. I want Alexander Ovechkin to lead the league in goals this season. I want him. I mean, he's on pace for, he's on pace for 63 goals, which means 50 more goals the rest of the way, which means more than 29. So he is on pace to reach Gretzky this year. What an exciting season for the Washington Capitals.
Hell yeah.
What an exciting season for Alex Ovechkin. There is nothing to not love about this.
I agree. We are having a lot of fun. And one of the most fun parts about this is that Ovechkin's scoring in a lot of different ways. Like, had a hat trick last night, his first since 2022, I believe.
That's crazy.
That is unbelievable. He had a goal off the rush, a goal that was banked in off of an opponent's stick, which is extremely ugly, and then he had an empty netter. And we won't get into the dynamics of not a real hat trick, because not a real hat trick in my mind if you get an empty netter. But he scored 3 goals, none of them being his patented one-timer from The Office.
Right.
But now we're talking about the realistic possibility that he breaks Gretzky's record this year. I'm starting to think, how do we want him to do it? How do we want the record-breaking goal to happen? Because he scored in a lot of different ways.
I believe it was friend of the show and brother of other friend of the show, Chris Powers, who said, and if I'm putting words in your mouth, Chris, I'm sorry, but I believe it was CP who asked the question of, if you've got an empty net and you're Alex Ovechkin, and that's either 894 or 895, are you sending into that pup?
No.
You're Alexander Ovechkin. You score goals. There's never a time you can score a goal that you say, you know what? I won't score a goal. Hammer it.
He can't
slap shot.
He can't break the record on an empty netter. He can. He can tie it. He can't break it on an empty netter. That would be so bad. If I'm Spencer Carberry, not even putting him out there with an empty net if he's tied for the record.
What if it's an empty netter from like behind his own net? What if it's like a full ice empty netter?
Flips it over Logan Thompson.
Ice. Like, I wouldn't even put him on the ice.
I think I agree with you there, but like, hey, sometimes stuff happens. It would be
so anticlimactic. It's like, it is the holy grail of NHL records, a record that nobody ever thought would be broken. I feel like it has to happen in a pretty special way. Putting it in on an empty net would feel so anticlimactic to me.
It's going to be like an own goal where he was just the last person to touch it on the Caps. And we're all going to die a little bit inside.
All right. So a couple of people in the chat are saying he can break it on an empty net as long as he hammers a slap shot into the empty net. I would kind of respect that.
If he takes it to his office with an empty net and just slap, or if he has someone else set him up for an empty net one-timer from his office.
What if he Michigans into an empty net?
Empty net Michigan would be amazing. Have we talked about empty net Michigans?
I think it's been brought up before, like at some point last
I'd be
season.
very
but
surprised.
That would get me going.
I
The
think we
first half
talked
hour
about-
of the show talking about jerseys. I bet we've done empty net Michigans.
I think that we've talked about Ovechkin being too good for the Michigan.
Yeah,
he would never
that does
even
sound
attempt
familiar.
it.
Yeah, that does sound familiar.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think that Ovechkin would do it and think he made it up. I think it's very possible he doesn't know about the Michigan and that he's going to independently arrive at the idea for the Michigan. I'd like to bring back something that we talked about, I think, in our season preview. You said, how do you want him to do it? I'm thinking, when do you want him to do it? We've discussed that Saturday, February 22nd game. You know what that is?
That the Pittsburgh Penguins
Capitals Penguins.
Yep.
That is the game that he breaks the record.
off an assist from Sidney Crosby because Sidney Crosby's been traded to the Capitals.
Oh,
at that
I mean,
point.
if he's already there, that'd be amazing. But that game is in Pittsburgh. I love the idea of he breaks the record, whole team celebrates, and as they're doing it, they're like looking over at Sid, being like, "You coming with?" And after the game, Sid says, "Yeah, I'm coming with." They make the trade. Pittsburgh retains half, gets third round pick, actually pays Washington to take the contract, but they still retain half. Maybe throw in another sweetener. Capitals are your Stanley Cup champions.
I mean, famously, there's precedent of Sidney Crosby like hanging out on the ice, waiting for his old
friends,
pals to leave the ice with them. So maybe Sidney Crosby hangs out and goes home with Alex Ovechkin.
Capitals 12-4-1. Unbelievable start for them. Just loving what we're seeing out of Ovechkin. And this, I've said many times that I didn't like 2-3 years ago when everybody was hammering the chase and, hey, he scored another goal. That's one closer to Gretzky. I kind of had this wake me up when he's within striking distance. We all knew it was going to happen. Striking distance has been reached. When you're within 30 and you're on his current pace, striking distance, baby.
Yeah. It's not even like the striking distance because obviously he's in striking distance, but the goal chase thing becomes a little bit more unpalatable when he's scoring like once every 2 weeks and you're just really chipping away at it. And it's just so much more interesting that he's tearing it up right now. And you get to talk about like when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. The Capitals are good. This isn't the only thing that's interesting around Ovi and the Caps. So the way that it's happening right now is just as good as can be. And I give Spencer Carberry and the Capitals just so much credit for making this, revitalizing this whole thing and revitalizing Ovechkin at the same time.
Couldn't have been done without the PLD trade. We absolutely love it.
We all silly like the mayor.